Hey there, Board Game Brody here with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. This time with a little bit of an older game that is very much still relevant today. It's Scythe by Stonemaier Games. Scythe has a lot to offer, and a lot of the newer games has actually borrowed their mechanics that is used in this game because it's tried and it's tested and it's true. So let's get into this one. Players each control a faction. I have the Nordic faction here, as there is no green faction available in the base game, but one is included in the expansion. The goal is to become the richest, most powerful faction in Eastern Europe. You will be placing stars to indicate completing achievements, and when any player places their 6th star, the game ends. You'll be able to place a star for completing any of these achievements here. Strategically, this is where you will make choices, maybe choosing things different from another player, as you might be trying to complete a different objective than the ones that they are. At the end of the game, the player then with the most money wins the game. Some coins can be gained throughout the game, but most will be awarded at the very end of the game, because you will gain money for every star token placed, for every territory that you control, and for every 2 resources and places where you can control. Plus, you want to be high on the popularity track, as the higher you are, the more coins you will earn for each of those things. Each faction will also start with different things, different stuff, and the faction mat and the player board will indicate these differences, including different starting resources. The player mat is where you'll be choosing your actions during the game. There are 4, and you can upgrade them as the game goes on. Then you have the faction mat where you keep your mechs, your stars, and your coins, and you have a special ability on the top right. Make sure you incorporate that into your strategy. So you will be taking turns over and over again until someone places their 6th star. You'll place your action token on one of the 4 actions. If your marker is on an action, you cannot keep it there and take that same action your next turn. You will have to move it to one of the other 3 actions. The actions have a top row actions and a bottom row action, and if you can pay for both, you can take both, or you can decide to not take either or just take one. But if you take both, you will start with the top action and then do the bottom action after. You have spaces covered up by cubes or other pieces. These are ignored until they are removed, and they will upgrade that action by giving you something more, making that action stronger, or if on the bottom row, adding cubes, making it cheaper to pay to do those actions. Also, you should know each faction pairs up the top row actions with the bottom row actions differently. The game is played on a board with hexagons, with different terrain types listed, and the factory in the middle. Players start at their home base that matches their faction symbol. You have workers, mechs, and a unique character. All can move, but never across water unless they have the ability to do so. Your unique character and the mechs can also be used for combat, but all wooden pieces cannot. When you have a unit in a hex, it becomes your territory. Buildings will also control territories, except if an enemy unit moves into one of those, then it becomes theirs. Resources are also left on the board, and when you control a territory, you also now have access to use those resources on it. But careful, this will change throughout the game. Let's take a look at some of these actions. Let's start first with the move. Move up to 2 different units. This is workers, your character, or a mech from one territory to an adjacent territory, or instead you can gain 1 coin. You can choose which. When moving, you also can move any resources from your current space and bring them with you to the new one. Mechs can also carry workers and any amount of resources when moving, making movement more efficient. If a player moves their attacking pieces into a space where another player might have workers, the workers avoid conflict at all times and are moved back to that player's home base, which could leave valuable resources behind for you. But driving workers out will also cause -1 popularity on your behalf. The 4 red outlined hexes are tunnel spaces, and you can move from any one to any of the others for 1 movement. After movement, if there are any players who have attacking units in a hex with another player's attacking units, combat will occur. Combat uses these dials and possible cards as well. You will choose a number on the dial that is how much strength you are willing to spend for this battle. You cannot spend more than what you have, so this strength chart is important to reference when thinking about fighting someone or someone fighting you. So you will set your dial secretly of how much you want to spend, and then you can add any additional combat cards up to how many plastic units you have in that battle to increase your number. You can secretly do this, sometimes maybe pretending like you're going to use a card and then not doing that, or using a card. But the number of the cards you have is public information, so they know how many you have to begin with, just not if you're going to use them or not. The player with the highest combined number wins that battle. The player that wins will then place one of their stars on one of the 2 star spaces showing they won a battle. And this is one of the ways to place out a star, winning battles. Winner stays in the space and the loser places their units back to their home base. Again, for each worker the attacker forced to retreat will also cause the popularity to decrease by 1. If defending, you don't lose any popularity when driving out leftover workers. If the loser used a combat card, they will be able to draw a new one to use in the future. Now back to moving. When moving your special character, if it moves into a space with an encounter token on it, it stops, and then you will draw an encounter card and hand it to another player to read to you. They will read out the bold text, you will take a decision, and then the other player will read what your outcome is. The middle space gives players a new card to use for 5th action spot when you first end your turn with your character in that spot. This next action is pay 1 coin and either bolster twice, going up on your strength, or you can draw 1 combat card. The trade action also costs 1 coin, but then you can either gain 2 resources, adding them to the board where your workers are present of the type in that area, or gain 1 popularity. The last top action space is the produce action. At the beginning of the game, there is no cost, but as you place out workers, production will cost more, and you will then choose 2 territories where you have workers and add the type of resource listed in that territory to that territory. There are all different resources listed or worker spaces that will let you add workers from the top part of your board, again making future production more expensive, but giving you maybe access to more territories. Now, the bottom row actions. Now, I took a different player's board to show you, again, everyone has the same actions, just in a different order and different combinations on their board. This action here is the upgrade action. You will pay 2 oil to gain 1 coin and then take a cube from any top action spot to any bottom action spot. And this will make the top actions more powerful and the bottom ones cheaper. The deploy action costs iron. For me, it's 3 iron, but could be 1 iron. And then I gain 2 coins. Then I take 1 mech from the other board I have to place it on any space on the board that has one of my workers. The spot on your player board where that mech was sitting then releases a new ability for your mechs and your character. So check to make sure which one you want to gain when placing out a new mech. For the build action, you pay wood and take any one of the 4 buildings from your board and place it on the board in a territory you control with a worker on it. The space the structure occupied will give you an additional gain action for the top action you took it from. Again, making them more powerful. There is a unique structure bonus tile placed out during setup, and you will gain money for, how good you're able to perform what it shows on there. The last bottom row action is enlist. Pay food and then remove a circle token from one of the bottom action spaces and place it on one of the bonuses on your other board and gain that bonus. Now, during the player's turn on your left and on your right, if they take an action and if your circle token is removed from it, you gain that action as well. So you need to pay attention to what actions everyone else is performing during their turn. That's all the bottom row actions. Now, you also have objective cards in this game, and if you complete its requirement, you will flip over your card and let everyone else know that you've done this. You will then discard it and the other card that you started with, and then place a star on that accomplishment. It's one of the ways to get a star out as well. Whenever you accomplish any of these, you must place a star here on the board. These are first 6 upgrades, then 4 mechs on the board, 4 of your buildings, 4 of your recruits, 8 of your workers, 1 objective card, winning a combat, winning a second combat, reaching 18 on the popularity track, reaching 16 on the power track. After any player places their 6th star, the game ends immediately. Players count their current coins and add more coins depending on how high they are on the popularity track, according to how many stars that they have, how many territories that they control, and coins for how many resources they have in combinations of 2s. Then they gain the coins from the structure bonus tile, and the player then with the most coins wins the game. And well, that's Scythe, a game with a great combination of mechanics to make it a game that was published in 2016, still talked about today. That's how good it is. For me, there's a lot that impresses me with this game. First, the asymmetric boards is a very well designed choice for this. Everyone has the same type of actions with some slight differences as in how many coins you gain or the cost of things, but then you also use the upgrade action to make those cubes move around to make, them how you want. So cheaper, better, whatever you want. The actions as well don't put a huge burden on the game. You have 1 of 4 or even 5 choices, but then within those choices that you have other choices. So it really makes it so that choices aren't long to choose, but then you also makes the game very strategic due to the layers of that action selection. Next is the resources. They are left on the board, only to be used in a territory that you control, which makes controlling territories important, and others can come and swoop in and take your stuff. Again, the most important things come down to getting stars on this board, increasing on the popularity track, controlling territories, and controlling resources. Everything points to helping with one of these things that will help you get money at the very end of the game. The best thing is the game leaves the strategy to you. You want to get 6 stars, but maybe you do this without even doing any combat in the game. Maybe you focus on 6 of the other ways to get stars out there. But no, others might play in a more aggressive way. Maybe the game, has a lot of combat in it. It's all up to whoever is playing in this game. The components are top-notch. The game has a mix of what you might feel as, a Euro game, but then has miniatures, making it feel more adventurous. Player boards are double layered to help, keep your components in place. The art is done in a very well way to match the feel of what the game offers. Overall, this is a game designed almost 10 years ago and continues to be played and talked about today. It's a very good sign, especially with all the new games coming out recently, that this game is good. So if you are late to the party, that's okay, because the party is still going and it hasn't stopped yet. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Like Scythe here, this popular, complex board game with strategic depth, in addition to being relatively easy to learn and play. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are working hard to bring to you videos like this one, so you know if these games are ones that you want to get to your own table.